All right, let's go. Time to jump headfirst into the exciting world of radio.
It's electrifying, isn't it?
Totally. And today we're focusing on one role in particular, the radio producer.
Ah, the one behind the scenes making all the magic happen.
Exactly. And to help us break down how to land this coveted role, we're using RoleCatcher.
The resources are fantastic. A treasure trove for any aspiring producer.
Absolutely. Think of this deep dive as your secret weapon to ace that interview. We'll be using their interview guide and career guide, and even sprinkle in how their AI can help.
All to equip you with the knowledge and skills you need to stand out.
Because, let's face it, the competition is fierce.
It is, but with the right preparation, you can absolutely make your dream a reality.
So, are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with a question straight from RoleCatcher's interview guide.
Okay, hit me.
What inspired you to become a radio producer? Sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah, but there's more to it than meets the eye.
I bet. So what's the interviewer really looking for here?
They want to see your passion, your genuine excitement. What was that spark that ignited your interest?
So a generic answer like, I've always loved radio, isn't going to cut it.
Probably not. You got to dig deeper. Take them back to a specific moment, you know? Was it a particular voice you heard, a story that moved you, or maybe even a childhood fascination with sound recording?
Like that time I tried to make a song out of my cat's meows.
See, that's what I'm talking about. A story that shows your personality, your journey, how it connects back to the core of what a radio producer does. Shaping sound, crafting a narrative.
And this is where RoleCatcher really shines. They emphasize those personal stories.
Authenticity is key.
Okay, what other questions should we unpack?
How about this? How do you stay up to date with current trends in the radio industry?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. They want to know if you're committed to continuous learning, staying ahead of the curve.
So, casually mentioning my Spotify Wrapped won't impress them.
Probably not. Think more along the lines of industry publications, podcasts, maybe even radio figures you admire and learn from.
Now, this is where RoleCatcher's career guide can be super helpful.
Absolutely.
I mean, it breaks down everything you need to know. The skills, the knowledge, and even insights into emerging trends and those evolving audience habits.
Exactly. And speaking of the career guide, let's touch on something that really stood out to me.
Oh yeah? What's that?
The section on advancement paths for radio producers. It's fantastic. It paints a clear picture of long-term growth.
That's great. You know, showing that you're not just looking for a job, but thinking long-term, that's a good strategy.
Absolutely. You're demonstrating ambition, a commitment to professional development. Like if they ask about your long-term goals, you can say, I'm excited about the potential to grow into a senior producer role as outlined in RoleCatcher's career guide.
Boom. Okay, give me another one, another interview question.
All right, get ready for this. How do you handle unexpected changes or challenges in the production process?
Oh boy. Talk about pressure. Because in radio, you know something's always going to go wrong.
Exactly. They want to see how you think on your feet, how you handle chaos, problem-solving skills, staying calm under pressure.
So, should I mention the time our studio lost power during a live interview? I had to think fast and use backup equipment while keeping everyone calm.
Perfect. You tackled a challenge, you adapted, you managed the situation, and that showcases your communication skills, too. Another crucial element highlighted in RoleCatcher's career guide.
And you know what else is awesome? RoleCatcher's AI feedback system.
Oh, yeah. It's like having your own personal coach.
You can actually practice answering these questions, and the AI analyzes your responses.
Gives you those personalized tips, tweaks to your language, helps you hit the right tone.
Incredible. Okay, before we move on, let's rewind a bit to the career guide again.
Sure. What part are you thinking about?
I was curious about the key responsibilities of a radio producer section. I feel like that would be helpful to understand what employers are really looking for.
Definitely. It lays out all the core functions. Content development, audio production, resource planning, you name it.
So even if I'm going for an entry-level position, knowing those higher-level responsibilities could give me an advantage.
Absolutely. It shows you're thinking big, ambitious.
Like I can confidently answer that classic, where do you see yourself in 5 years? question.
Exactly. Talking about your aspirations, maybe even managing a team, it all ties back to that career guide.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how all of this connects. The guide, the interview guide, the AI, it's a complete package.
It's like a secret weapon for interview success.
Okay, let's keep going.
You got it. How about this? How do you manage your time when working on multiple projects simultaneously?
Oh, don't even get me started. I'm juggling a million things right now.
I hear you. But the key is to showcase your organizational skills, your ability to prioritize.
Right. So should I talk about my color-coded calendars and my love for sticky notes?
If that's your system, go for it. But also remember, every workplace has its own ways of doing things.
True. So how can I tailor my answer to a specific company?
Research. Do your homework. Check out their website, their socials, get a feel for their culture.
Ah, so if they're all about teamwork, I could talk about how I use shared calendars and those online tools to keep everyone in sync.
Exactly. Shows you're adaptable, a team player, thinking about fitting into their workflow.
And of course, don't forget RoleCatcher's AI can provide that extra feedback.
Always there to help you fine-tune your approach.
Okay, what else is on the menu?
Let's get into this one. How do you ensure that the content you produce is engaging and relevant to your target audience?
Yes, you can't just make sounds. You got to connect with the people listening.
Right. They want to know you're not just throwing things at the wall and hoping they stick. You're being strategic, crafting content that resonates.
Okay, so do I need a whole PowerPoint on demographics to prove I won't bore the listeners to tears?
No need to go that far. Just focus on your process. How do you identify your audience? What are their interests, their needs?
Okay. Would it be good to mention specific shows targeting similar demographics? Like if I'm going for a youth radio station, I could mention how a certain show uses music and humor to reach young listeners.
Now you're talking. It shows you're not just familiar with the concept, you're thinking critically, looking at successful examples.
So all those hours listening to podcasts are finally paying off.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher reinforces this throughout their materials. The career guide has sections on audience research, staying ahead of the curve. It's all there.
This is incredible. The different parts of the platform work together so seamlessly.
A complete interview prep experience.
I feel like we've covered so much already. All right, we're back. And, thinking about everything we've talked about, it's easy to get caught up in the technical side of radio production.
It's true. The equipment, the editing software, it's all very cool.
Yeah. But we can't forget that at its heart, radio is all about people.
Absolutely. Connecting with your listeners, collaborating with your team, building relationships with guests.
And that's a whole other skill set.
It is, and one that interviewers are definitely looking for. They want someone who can not only handle the technical stuff, but also navigate those human interactions.
Yeah, like those tricky situations that pop up when you're working with guests.
Exactly.
So let's say the interviewer throws this at me. How do you manage talent and build relationships with guests and contributors? What's the best way to approach that?
This is where you showcase your teamwork skills, your ability to communicate effectively, create a positive environment.
Right, because you're dealing with creative people, often with big personalities.
And you have to do it all under pressure within those tight time constraints.
It's a delicate balance, for sure.
Yeah.
Keeping the show moving while making your guests feel valued and heard.
Definitely. So think about your communication style. Are you clear in your instructions? Do you create a welcoming space?
And I remember RoleCatcher suggesting to use specific examples of how you've handled those tricky situations.
Yes.
Like that time I had a nervous guest. And to help them relax before we went live, I shared a funny anecdote. It totally worked.
Perfect example. Real-life anecdotes make your answers so much more powerful.
I love that. Okay, I'm feeling a lot more confident, but you know what always makes me nervous?
What's that?
Budget questions.
Oh, yeah, those can be tough.
How do you manage budgets and resources effectively? How do you prioritize spending on a limited budget? Just hearing those makes me want to run and hide.
But it's such a vital part of being a producer.
It is, especially nowadays.
It's really a test of your organizational skills, your ability to prioritize, and your resourcefulness.
So they're basically seeing if I can make those smart decisions and still deliver amazing content. Do I need to start memorizing financial formulas?
Not necessarily. What's more important is explaining your thought process. Show them you understand things like cost-benefit analysis.
Okay. And maybe give some examples of how I've stretched a budget without sacrificing quality.
Yes. Like that time you managed to snag a big-name guest for your college radio show by offering them free pizza and a lifetime supply of station stickers.
Hey, it worked.
It did. It shows you can think outside the box, be resourceful, and understand the power of non-monetary incentives. And it highlights your negotiation skills, too.
I'm starting to see how all these interview questions are really interconnected.
They are.
It's about weaving a story, showcasing your skills, your experiences, your love for radio.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher's Career Guide outlines typical tasks for producers at different stages.
Right. Even if I'm going for an entry-level position, knowing those higher-level responsibilities, like budget management, can give me that extra edge. It shows I'm ambitious, looking ahead.
It does. All right, ready for another question?
Hit me.
How about this one? What do you think are the most important qualities for a successful radio producer? It seems simple, but it's a bit of a trap.
I see what you mean. It's tempting to just rattle off a list of positive traits, but I bet they want more than just buzzwords.
You got it. They want to see if you really grasp what makes a producer tick, what sets them apart.
So go beyond just listing those core skills.
Yes. Attention to detail, communication, problem solving, all of those are important, but don't just say, I'm a great communicator. Give them an example.
So instead of saying that, I could talk about a time I effectively communicated complex information to a team and made sure everyone was on the same page.
Exactly. Show them, don't just tell them.
And this all connects back to those earlier questions about managing talent and building relationships. It's all coming together.
It is. And remember, even with all the prep in the world, interviews can still be nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah. My palms are already sweating just thinking about it.
But that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered video practice comes in.
That sounds amazing. Like having a personal coach, but virtual.
It is. You record yourself answering practice questions, then the AI analyzes your video and gives you feedback.
So it's looking at everything, my body language, my tone, everything.
Everything. It might tell you to slow down your speech, make more eye contact, even project your voice more confidently. It's like having a virtual mirror, but one that knows exactly what recruiters are looking for.
That's incredible. And what's really cool is it tailors the feedback to the specific job.
Right. It's not generic advice. It considers the company culture, the role, even the interviewer's style.
Seriously. That's amazing. It's like having a secret weapon to decode the whole interview process. Okay, let's get back to those interview questions.
Sounds good. Are you ready for one that might come up in later rounds?
Bring it on.
All right, how about this? What is your approach to managing a team of producers and ensuring that they are motivated and productive?
Whoa, okay. That sounds pretty intense, especially if I haven't officially managed a team before.
I know, but even if you're applying for an entry-level role, they might ask about leadership.
To see if I'm thinking ahead.
Exactly. And it's your chance to show them you understand teamwork, collaboration, all those things.
Right. So even without formal management experience, I can talk about times when I took initiative, maybe helped organize a project or motivated others.
Exactly. Highlight those moments where you demonstrated those leadership qualities, even in informal settings.
Okay. I'm thinking back to my college radio days when I helped organize a fundraising event. I wasn't in charge officially, but I definitely took on a leadership role.
Perfect example. You show initiative, organization, and the ability to motivate others.
And I could connect this back to the career guide. Like, if it emphasizes communication, I can mention the communication strategies I used for that fundraising event.
Exactly. Tying it all together.
I love it.
So are you starting to feel less like interviews are an interrogation?
I am, actually. It's more like an opportunity to tell my story, to show my passion, to connect with the people on the other side of the table.
That's the spirit. And remember, it's a two-way street. It's a chance for you to get a feel for the company culture, too. See if it's the right fit for you.
That's a great point. Okay, I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up this section. What do you have for me?
How about we tackle one that's becoming increasingly crucial? How do you ensure that your radio programs are inclusive and represent a diverse range of perspectives?
Diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
Super important, no doubt.
It is. Radio has a responsibility to reflect its diverse audience, to provide a platform for a variety of voices and perspectives.
So they want to know if I understand this responsibility.
Yes, and that you're actively promoting diversity in your work.
Okay, what are some key things to mention?
Talk about how you seek out diverse guests. Make sure your content reflects different viewpoints, and be mindful of potential biases, both your own and those that might exist in the industry.
Would it be good to talk about specific strategies I use to address those biases? Like actively seeking feedback from diverse sources, or working to amplify marginalized voices?
Absolutely. It shows you're not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. You can even mention relevant experiences, like volunteer work or workshops on inclusive storytelling.
I'm feeling really inspired. This has been an amazing look into the world of radio producer interviews, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of what RoleCatcher has to offer. But I think it's time to move on to our final part. What's in store for us?
Now we'll shift gears to the bigger picture. What it takes to not just get the job, but thrive in this exciting and constantly evolving industry.
All right, we're back. And after all that interview prep, we can't forget about what comes next.
Right. Acing the interview is just the first step.
It's a big one, but yeah, Then comes the real journey. You land the job, you're officially a radio producer. What then?
Well, that's where the real fun begins. It's all about bringing your unique skills and passion to the table.
It's about thriving in that role, making your mark on the world of radio.
Exactly. And that's what we'll be exploring in this final part of our deep dive. We'll talk about not just getting the job, but building a fulfilling career.
Okay, I like that. So let's talk about long-term goals. Remember that advancement path section in RoleCatcher's career guide. It outlined so many possibilities for where a radio producer's career can go.
Yeah, it's great. From senior producer roles to management positions, even branching out into specialized areas like podcasting.
It's inspiring to see all those options laid out.
It is, and it's important to have a vision, even if it changes over time. The radio industry is full of possibilities, and RoleCatcher gives you that roadmap to help you explore them.
And it doesn't always have to be about climbing that ladder.
Right, you can find your own niche. What are you passionate about? What are your strengths? Pursue those opportunities.
Maybe you fall in love with podcasting, and that becomes your focus. Or maybe you're a natural leader and end up in a management role, guiding and mentoring others.
Exactly. The possibilities are really endless.
They are, but we also have to be realistic. The radio industry can be tough, demanding. How does RoleCatcher address those challenges? How do they help you stay resilient?
RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat things. The career guide talks about work-life balance, stress management, the importance of self-care. It also highlights building a strong support network.
People who get it, who understand the demands of this world.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher's network feature can be so valuable for connecting with others in the industry. Finding mentors, building those relationships that will support you throughout your career.
It's like having a built-in community. This is making me realize that being a radio producer, it's more than just a job, isn't it?
It is. It's a lifestyle.
It's about being curious, always learning, embracing the highs and the lows that come with creating something truly special.
And never losing sight of that passion that drew you to radio in the first place.
So true. Okay, one more thing before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I remember RoleCatcher talked about personal branding, showcasing your skills, not just during interviews, but throughout your career.
Absolutely. Building a strong online presence, whether it's a website, LinkedIn, or even a podcast portfolio, it's all about standing out, attracting those opportunities.
And RoleCatcher has tips on how to do all of that, right?
Yes. From crafting a compelling bio to leveraging social media. It's about owning your narrative and presenting yourself as the expert you are.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of all that RoleCatcher offers.
We've covered so much ground, from those nitty-gritty interview questions to mapping out a long-term career path. But ultimately, the most important thing is to believe in yourself, embrace your passion, and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, listeners, RoleCatcher is there every step of the way, providing the tools, the insights, the support you need to turn that radio dream into a reality.
Keep creating, keep connecting, and keep that radio magic alive.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of radio producers. We hope you found it valuable and inspiring. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.